Hello, I'm Heather. Welcome to Preservative-Free Fooding. And today I'm going to make egg drop soup. I've actually had a couple of my co-workers ask for this recipe. So you can either use broth or you can use bouillon. Now obviously you want to make sure that both your broth and your bouillon do not have preservatives in it. I have only found one broth that has no preservatives. Now, it is called Zoop. Really good soup. Chicken base with bone broth. That's what it looks like. It's very solid. So we're going to want 4 cups of water. So we're going to want to add 4 teaspoons of bouillon. And it doesn't want to come out, so get me another spoon to get that out of there. I'm just going to use the handle to scoop that out. You can always use your finger, but sometimes if you're cooking for others, they don't always appreciate it. Right. It's okay if they're a little heaping, because not all comes off the spoon. Alright, this one's number 4. If you are using a powdered bouillon, you might want to not use the salt that I'm about to use. Otherwise, it could be too salty. I'm going to go ahead and add my 4 cups of water. Now this is filtered water so that I don't have all the chemicals that are in tap water. Alright, turn your heat on to medium, and I'm going to stir with this ladle, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Just make sure all of your bouillon is nice and stirred in. Okay. Now, I would suggest tasting your broth before adding that salt. We don't want it to be too salty. Now, I think it could use a little more salt, but I like things salty. This soup is all natural. It has no preservatives whatsoever. It tastes just like stock. So if you want to add half a teaspoon of salt, go right ahead. I'm also going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of white pepper. Now this is already ground, and I've had this in my cabinet since before my allergies, so it's not organic. Like I said, you don't have to use organic, but it is always better. It just takes that little bit of chemicals that would have been in your food out of the equation. But it doesn't hurt to go ahead and use what you've got in your cabinet. I have ordered these organic whole white peppercorns. If you can find some that's in a grinder, wonderful. Otherwise, I have a preference to the mortar and pestle. I think the whole peppercorns are fresher, they taste better, and it's just my preference. But like I said, use what you've got if you don't want to go ahead and buy more. Also, we're going to add about 1/8 of a teaspoon of sugar. Just a tiny bit, just a pinch. Now this sugar is not white sugar. I cannot have white sugar. Just like white rice, white sugar is processed with chemicals. They take the sugar cane and then they process it into raw sugar. Once they have the raw sugar, they separate molasses from the sugar and it becomes a molasses and cane sugar. Then they take the cane sugar and they bleach it with chemicals to make white sugar. It helps preserve it and it makes it poisonous. All right. Then we are also going to add some turmeric. Hey, Puka! No, kitty, kitty. This is my Puka. Oh, there's my turmeric. Alright, I use Watkins Organic ground turmeric. It is non-GMO as well. Obviously, non-GMO is always going to be better than GMO. Genetically modified organisms have been modified to have pesticides in their DNA. You can't wash those off. That's even worse than using non-organic. So, when able, always choose non-GMO. Alright. Turmeric is good for you. It's got lots of vitamins, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, all that good stuff. But it also adds a little bit of color. That nice yellow color that we associate with egg drop soup. Now I added half a teaspoon. You can add more if you like. Or less. Like I said, there's a moth. Okay. Like I said, it's just for color. So, if you don't have any turmeric, that's fine. It also adds a little bit of flavor. But if you don't have any, it can be done without. While this is coming to a simmer, we are going to beat some eggs. We're going to take 3 eggs. Now, brown eggs are better for you, but also a lot more expensive. So, as I've said before, get what you can afford. We're going to lightly beat this. Doesn't have to be beaten well, just a little bit. Then, it doesn't matter if you have a little bit of egg in here, it's all going to cook the same. I'm going to take 1/3 cup of water. You don't want it to be hot. And I'm going to take my cornstarch. There it is. So we're going to use 3 teaspoons of cornstarch, or 1 tablespoon. Oh, you know what? I was wrong. We're going to use 3 tablespoons. Now, when you're choosing your cornstarch, if you can, you want to get the cornstarch without aluminum. Aluminum is not a preservative, but it is not good for you. It promotes memory loss and can even worsen dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So if we can, we want to stay away from aluminum. We're just going to mix up this cornstarch and water. All right. We've got a low boil or a simmer. And then we're going to make sure and mix up our cornstarch a little bit. And pour it slowly while stirring into our pot. Now what happens, there's a chemical reaction with the cornstarch when it gets hot. And that's going to thicken up our soup. Our soup's going to get thick and be gluten-free for all of those who have gluten allergies. I'm not allergic to gluten, but I cannot eat anything with bleached flour. Just like white rice and just like white sugar, it has been processed with chemicals to the point where I break out if I eat anything with it. The best kind of wheat to use is unbleached or durum wheat or semolina. Those are almost always, durum wheat and semolina are almost always completely chemical free. Most durum wheat is actually grown in Italy, and they do not process their wheat because durum wheat is a lot harder and in Italy they do not allow the same chemicals that we do here in the United States. Alright, once So we've got a pretty thick soup going on. So we're going to want to let it come back up to a slight boil. And we're going to get our eggs. Do not use the whisk when pouring in your eggs. It will not turn out very well. It will just be a bunch of egg mixed in with your soup. There won't be that nice stringiness that is found in a good egg drop soup. We're going to use our ladle. We're just going to stir it very slowly as we pour in the egg. Just a little bit at a time. Get that nice stringy egg drop soup. Remember not to stir too fast, or that egg will just mix right in with your soup and not get that nice texture that we're looking for. Alright, once you've done that, you can turn your stove off and move it off the heat. Now with our nice clean bowl, I'm going to show you this soup. Look at that. Perfect texture. Nice stringy eggs. And now let's taste it. This is some good soup. It gets better every time I make it. The more you make it, the easier it'll become. So good. All right, and that's how you make egg drop soup. Now, if you have chives, you can cut some up and put it on your egg drop soup to make it nice and pretty. Also adds a nice light onion flavor. Or you can take some shredded seaweed and put it in there as well. All right, ingredient, seaweed. This is Kizami Nori from Takaokaya, roasted shredded seaweed. I got this from the Asian supermarket. Throw a little bit in your egg drop soup. Oh my goodness. First time I've had the seaweed in here. So good. Oh my goodness. Know that soup. All right. Well, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed watching my show. Leave any comments you have about how I could make this better for you, or any questions you have about preservative-free fooding. All right. Like and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye. Puka. Puka, puka, puka. Puka, puka, puka. Puka, puka, puka. Meow. Puka. Well, Puka says bye too.